The night outside was silent, except for the faint hum of the city's sky trains gliding across the glowing skyline. Ethan turned in his bed, half asleep, half dreaming of the stars. The air in his small apartment felt heavy that night, not dangerous but different, as if the world outside had paused for something waiting to happen. It had been 2 months since the arrival of the Ellens, the alien race that came to Earth under a peace treaty. They were tall, graceful beings, their skin carrying a soft shimmer that looked like moonlight captured in motion. While most humans were still cautious about them, Ethan had somehow ended up living next door to one. Her name was Lyra. Lyra wasn't like the others. She smiled more often, asked endless questions about human food, music, and laughter. Ethan had helped her fix her translation device when she first moved in, and since then, she often visited his balcony to ask about human customs, though she always left before midnight. Tonight, however, was different. Ethan woke to a faint sound, the soft hiss of his sliding door opening. He blinked in confusion, still half lost in sleep. His room was dim, lit only by the blue glow of the digital clock on his wall. The time read 2:43 a.m. At first he thought it was a dream, but then he saw her Lyra standing in the doorway, her silver hair catching the light. Her large, pale eyes glowed faintly as she looked around the room. "Lyra?" Ethan whispered, sitting up. She turned toward him slowly, her voice calm and melodic. "You were dreaming loudly. I heard your thoughts through the walls." Ethan rubbed his eyes. "You heard my thoughts?" Lyra nodded, stepping closer. Her feet made no sound on the wooden floor. Xalens do not hear words, but emotions. Yours were. Troubled. He looked away for a moment, embarrassed. "I didn't mean to disturb you." "You didn't," she said softly. "But I came because your energy felt." Sad Ethan didn't know how to respond. He had been feeling lonely lately since his brother left for Mars, and since work at the orbital dockyard had become colder and more mechanical. Machines did most of the repairs now. Humans were only there to press commands. He often wondered if humanity was slowly being replaced, piece by piece. Lyra tilted her head. "You think too much about being replaced," she said, reading his silence. He chuckled weakly. "You can read that too?" "I can sense it," she said. "Your kind fears being forgotten, but the stars remember everything." Her words carried a strange comfort. He found himself smiling. "You talk like the universe has feelings." Lyra stepped closer until she stood beside his bed. "Perhaps it does. Perhaps that is why it sends us dreams to remind us we are seen." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The quiet hum of the city below filled the space between their breaths. Then, Lyra looked toward his small window. "Your sky looks different tonight," she said. "Your moon hides behind smoke." Ethan followed her gaze. Indeed, the smog from the upper city had blurred the moon's glow into a hazy circle. "That's not smoke," he said. "It's the pollution from the industrial sectors." Lyra frowned slightly. "You poison your sky?" he sighed. "Not on purpose. It's just how our world works now." Lyra turned back to him, her expression unreadable. "In my world, we learned that progress means nothing if it silences the stars." Her words struck something inside him. He had heard similar things from human philosophers, but coming from her, someone who had seen other worlds, it felt deeper, truer then. The silence shifted again. A faint vibration ran through the walls like a pulse. Lyra's eyes flashed brighter. "Something is wrong," she whispered. Ethan sat up quickly. "What is it?" "There is movement outside, not human." Before he could ask further, she moved toward the window and placed her hand on the glass. The shimmer of her skin rippled faintly, and the glass turned transparent beyond its usual tint. Ethan froze. Down below, near the streetlight, 2 dark figures were standing tall, wrapped in cloaks that seemed to absorb the light around them. "They're not from your government," Lyra said quietly. "They're from mine." His heartbeat quickened. "What do they want?" "They shouldn't be here," she said, her voice tightening. "The treaty forbids Xalen agents from visiting unregistered human homes." Ethan's mind raced. "Then why are they to find me?" she finished. He looked at her in disbelief. "You're hiding from your own people?" Lyra hesitated. "Not hiding, learning Learning what? What makes humans human? Outside, one of the figures looked up directly at their window. A small red light blinked on its wrist. A scanner. "They've seen us," Lyra whispered. Without another word, she turned and touched the air near his door. The panel lights dimmed instantly. "They will come. You must not open the door, no matter what you hear." Ethan stood, confused and worried. "Lyra? Wait, what's going on?" She turned to him, her voice soft but urgent. "If they take me, you must not follow. Promise me." "I can't promise that," he said firmly. Her eyes softened. "Humans and their bravery," she said almost fondly, "always refusing to let go." Then she reached out and placed a glowing crystal on his nightstand. "If they come, hold this. It will protect your memory. Protect my." But before he could finish, the apartment lights flickered. The hum of the city seemed to fade, replaced by an eerie silence. Then came a knock. Gentle but heavy, like the sound of metal on wood. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Lyra turned toward the sound, her body tensed, eyes bright like molten silver. The knock came again. This time a voice followed, calm, low, and alien. "Citizen Lyra of Zalen, you are requested to return for debriefing. Open the door." Ethan's pulse pounded in his ears. Lyra looked back at him once, her expression full of unspoken words. Then she whispered, "Stay human, Ethan, no matter what happens." The next second, the door began to glow faintly blue. The metal was being rewritten, a Zalen technique for forced entry. Ethan held the crystal tightly. The air in the room vibrated, time itself seeming to bend. And then light exploded across the walls. When Ethan opened his eyes again, the room was empty. The door was open, but there was no one there. Not Lyra, not the strangers, only the faint smell of ozone and a whisper echoing in the air. "Remember the stars." Ethan stood frozen for a long moment. The city continued outside as if nothing had happened. He looked down at the glowing crystal in his hand, now pulsing softly, like a heartbeat. He didn't know what had just happened or where Lyra had gone. But he knew one thing for certain. Whatever she was part of, it wasn't over. And humanity, his humanity, was now part of it too. Ethan could not sleep for the rest of the night. The glowing crystal still rested on his nightstand, pulsing faintly like it had a heartbeat of its own. Every time the light flickered, he remembered Lyra's last words. "Stay human." He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the door that now looked perfectly normal. The metal was smooth. No sign of the blue light or the strange vibration from before. It was as if nothing had happened, but Ethan knew better. When the first rays of morning light touched his window, it finally moved. He picked up the crystal and turned it in his hand. It was warm but not hot. It felt alive. "All right," he whispered to himself. "Let's figure out what you are." He connected his wristpad, a small device humans use to link to AI assistants and the global net. The device scanned the crystal, but immediately flashed red. "Error. Unknown material. Energy source detected. Handle with care." Ethan frowned. Of course, alien tech. He decided to take it to his workshop. Ethan worked as a systems engineer in the orbital dockyard, but he had his own small lab in the apartment, a corner filled with old tools, scanners, and metal scraps. He placed the crystal under a microscope. The image shocked him. The surface was not solid. It was made of moving patterns, like tiny stars swirling inside a miniature galaxy. Every few seconds, shape changed, forming symbols that looked almost like letters. Then his scanner flickered again, this time displaying text he didn't understand. A soft voice suddenly came from the crystal. "Ethan, if you are hearing this, I am gone." It was Lyra's voice. He froze. The crystal projected a faint hologram Lyra's face, made of blue light. Her expression was calm, but her eyes carried sadness. "The ones who came last night were not Zalen guards. They are part of a group called the Council of Silence. They want to erase all records of humans and land contact. They believe humans are not ready to know what lies beyond your solar system." Ethan's hands trembled as he listened. I came to Earth to learn about humanity. Your courage, your emotions, your chaos, they are powerful. The Council fears this power. They want me to return and forget what I learned. The image flickered, but I will not forget. I left this crystal to protect the knowledge of both our worlds. It contains a map, not to a place, but to a truth. Ethan leaned closer. What truth, Lyra? That your kind is not weak. That humans were meant to rise again, not as conquerors, but as bridges between stars. The hologram began to fade. The Council will come for the crystal. Do not trust the Zaylon embassy. Trust your instincts. Stay human, and remember me. And then silence. The crystal dimmed, its light fading into a soft glow. Ethan sat there for a long time, heart pounding. A dozen questions raced through his mind. Why did she say bridges between stars? Why would aliens fear humans' emotions? He opened his wristpad again and began searching the public database for anything about the Council of Silence. Nothing appeared. It was as if the name didn't exist. But then his wristpad blinked. Unauthorized access DITI, CDIT. Ethan jumped. The screen glitched, and a new message appeared, one that wasn't supposed to be there. You have something that does not belong to you. Return it. He swallowed hard. They're watching me. He unplugged the wristpad immediately, shut off his network connection, and backed away. The message vanished, but the fear didn't. For a few hours, he tried to go about his day normally, went to the dockyard, checked the ships, ran diagnostics, but he couldn't focus. He kept thinking about Lyra and the strangers who had taken her. That evening, when he returned home, something felt wrong again. The lights in his apartment were on, even though he had turned them off before leaving. He froze at the door. Is someone in there? No answer. He stepped inside carefully, holding a wrench in one hand. His living room looked normal, until he noticed a shadow move near the kitchen. Ethan, a calm voice said, "We need to talk." A man stepped out. He looked human, short dark hair, sharp eyes, and wearing a black uniform with a small silver emblem shaped like a star split in half. Ethan tensed. Who are you? The man smiled slightly. Agent Doran, Earth's Alien Security Division. We're here to make sure no one misuses alien technology. Ethan didn't move. How did you get in? Doors are not a problem when the safety of the planet is at risk. Ethan's eyes narrowed. You mean the crystal? Doran nodded. Yes, the object Lyra left behind. It contains information that humans are not authorized to have. Ethan's grip on the wrench tightened. So you're with the Council of Silence? The man's smile vanished. You know that name? Ethan said nothing. Doran stepped closer. Listen, Ethan. You don't understand what you're dealing with. That crystal could destabilize every energy field in this city if used wrong. Give it to me and I'll make sure you stay safe. Ethan shook his head. No, Lyra trusted me. Doran's eyes turned cold. Then she made a mistake. He reached into his jacket, pulling out a small device that glowed red. Last chance. Ethan took a step back. His mind raced. If he handed it over, Lyra's message would be lost. But if he didn't, this man could destroy everything. Then he remembered her words. Stay human. He threw the wrench toward the lights, shattering them. The room plunged into darkness. Doran cursed and activated his scanner. But by then, Ethan had already grabbed the crystal and ran toward the balcony. He jumped over the railing, landing on the lower platform of the old service stairway. Alarms blared behind him. He ran through the narrow alleys, clutching the glowing crystal to his chest. The city lights blurred past, neon signs, drones hovering, the constant hum of sky traffic above. Finally, he reached the old observation deck near the edge of the district, a quiet place where Lyra used to stargaze. He stopped there, breathing heavily. The crystal pulsed again, brighter this time. Then, it projected a hologram. Not Lyra, but a map. It showed stars forming a spiral pattern with one glowing point at the center. A line of alien text appeared, then shifted into English. The memory gate hidden on Earth. Ethan stared in shock. The gate is here. Before he could process it, he heard footsteps. Doran's voice echoed behind him. "You can't run forever, Ethan. You're only human." Ethan turned slowly, the crystal lighting his face. "That's exactly why you're afraid of us." He pressed the crystal to his wrist pad, letting it merge. The hologram expanded into a full sphere of light, and in that moment, stars above seemed to respond. A beam of light shot upward from the deck, piercing the clouds. The city's power grids flickered, and Doran shielded his eyes. Ethan felt a surge of warmth spread through his body. The crystal wasn't just energy, it was knowledge, merging with his thoughts. He could feel Lyra's memories, her emotions, her connection to the stars. Then, a voice whispered in his mind, gentle, familiar. "You found me, Lyra." He whispered aloud, "Yes, the gate is awakening. But the council will not stop now. You must choose, hide, or rise." Ethan looked up at the glowing sky, his fear replaced by something stronger. Determination. "I'm done hiding," he said quietly. "It's time they learned what it means to be human." The beam of light that shot into the sky from the old observation deck could be seen across the city. It cut through the smog, bright and pure. Like a piece of the heavens had returned to Earth, Ethan stood inside it, the crystal still glowing in his palm. While the world around him trembled, the holographic map that had appeared before him expanded, showing lines of energy weaving between stars, planets, and finally connecting back to Earth. At the very center of that network, a word appeared again, memory gate. Ethan could hear Lyra's voice in his mind, calm and clear. The gate is a connection between minds and worlds. It keeps the stories of civilization safe. But the council wants to seal it, to erase what makes us remember. He looked at the sky, then back at the glowing device. "Then we'll stop them," he said. Behind him, footsteps echoed across the deck. Agent Doran had returned, his face lit by the strange light. The wind tossed his coat as he raised a weapon that shimmered like liquid metal. "Turn it off, Ethan," Doran ordered. "You have no idea what that thing can do." Ethan faced him, gripping the crystal tightly. "You're right, I don't. But I know what happens if I let you take it." Doran frowned. "You're risking the entire city." "Maybe, but humans take risks. That's what makes us human." Doran hesitated, clearly torn between duty and confusion. The light from the gate flickered again, and suddenly, the hologram shifted. A new shape appeared beside Ethan. Made of light and memory, it was Lyra. Her form wasn't solid, but she was there, glowing, radiant. Her eyes calm as the stars. "Stop, Doran," she said softly. "You don't understand what you're protecting." Doran froze. "Lyra, that's impossible." "You were taken back. They erased my physical form," she said, "but not my consciousness. The crystal carried me here." Ethan stepped forward. "She's not a threat. She's trying to save both our worlds." Doran shook his head. "Save. The council said you were dangerous, that your ideas could destroy the peace." "Peace built on silence is not peace," Lyra replied. "It is fear." The air trembled around them. The gate's energy surged stronger, creating waves of blue light across the deck. Doran stumbled back, shielding his eyes. "You'll tear reality apart." "No," Lyra said, her voice echoing like music. "We'll open it." The crystal in Ethan's hand flared. He felt something deep within him awaken, a link between his mind and the stars. For a moment, he wasn't just standing on Earth. He could see other worlds. Zalon cities, floating in golden light. Human colonies on Mars, ships moving across the black sea of space. He felt all of it. Every memory. Every story. Every dream, he gasped, tears in his eyes. This is what they wanted to hide?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, the gate holds the memories of every race that ever reached the stars. The council fears what happens when those memories mix, when species begin to feel for each other." Doran lowered his weapon slowly. His voice softened. "Then why not tell us?" "Why hide?" "Because you would not have believed us," she said gently. "Fear is easier to spread than hope." The deck shuddered again as the gate continued to grow brighter. Ethan could feel the energy building, like a heartbeat syncing with his own. He knew what he had to do, even if he didn't fully understand it. "Lyra," he said, "if we open it, what happens next?" Her expression turned solemn. "It will release the stored memories into every connected mind on Earth. Humans will see what lies beyond their world, the beauty, the pain, the unity. But it may also overwhelm you." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then we'll handle it. We've faced worse." Doran stepped closer, voice trembling. "Ethan, if you do this, there's no turning back. You could change the entire species forever." Ethan smiled faintly. "That's the point." Place the crystal into the center of the beam. The light enveloped his body completely, and for a brief instant, time itself seemed to stop. The gate opened. A wave of pure light spread out in every direction, rushing across the city, then across continents, oceans, and skies. It passed through machines, through people, through every connected thought. For a moment, every human on Earth felt something, a memory that wasn't theirs, yet felt deeply familiar. They saw the Xalans building their world from starlight. They saw the first humans looking at the night sky with wonder. They saw kindness between strangers, courage and fear, love and darkness. Then the light faded. Ethan collapsed to his knees, exhausted but alive. The crystal now lay silent, its glow gone, but its purpose fulfilled. Lyra's image still shimmered faintly beside him, though weaker now. "It worked," she whispered. Ethan looked around. The sky above was clear for the first time in years. The smog had lifted, replaced by the true color of the stars. The world felt lighter, not just in the air, but in the spirit. "What happens now?" he asked softly. Lyra smiled. "Now your people remember. And once you remember, you can never go back to sleep." Her light flickered again. "My time is ending, Ethan. The energy that keeps me here is almost gone." He reached out as if to hold her, but his hand passed through the light. "Don't go," he said quietly. "I must," she replied. "But you will not be alone. The gate has linked our worlds. Someday, others like me will return not as watchers, but as friends." He nodded slowly, trying to smile even as his eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Lyra, for believing in us." She looked at him gently. "Thank you for reminding me what it means to be alive." With that, her image dissolved into 1,000 tiny lights that rose into the sky, joining the stars above. The last whisper of her voice echoed in his mind. "Stay human." Ethan sat there for a long time, watching the stars. The city below began to stir. People waking up, talking, feeling something they couldn't explain. Some cried, some smiled, some simply looked up for the first time in years. News drones flew across the skyline, broadcasting strange headlines. Citizens experienced shared visions of alien worlds. Global peace talks resume after sudden energy surge. Scientists confirm atmospheric cleansing, unexplained phenomenon. But Ethan didn't care about the headlines. He only cared about the quiet feeling in his chest that he had done something that mattered. A few days later, he returned to the observation deck. The beam of light was gone, but the place still felt alive. He found the broken crystal lying near the railing. When he picked it up, it pulsed faintly just once, like a heartbeat saying goodbye. He smiled. "You're still here, aren't you?" A soft breeze passed through the air, carrying the faint sound of laughter. Her laughter. He looked up at the sky. Now full of stars brighter than ever before, "Maybe humanity isn't alone anymore," he whispered. "Maybe we never were." As he stood there, the night stretched endlessly above him. And for the first time, Ethan didn't feel small. He felt connected not just to the stars, but to every being who had ever looked at them with hope. Because in that moment, he understood what Lyra meant all along. To be human was not just to exist, it was to remember, to dream, and to reach for something greater. Even when the universe said no, and somewhere beyond those stars, a voice soft and distant whispered back, "We remember too."